Now, while the court has yet to release their opinion on the abortion case, earlier today, the Supreme Court did deliver Senator Ted Cruz a massive win on campaign finance.
The number one priority for Congress is to prevent anyone from beating them. And so this law, it limits the ability of a candidate to make a loan to his or her campaign and then pay himself back. And the reason that incumbent politicians want to do that is they don't want anyone to challenge them. And the result of this decision today is it becomes a lot easier for citizens to say, all right, I'm fed up with the direction our country is going, and I'm going to go campaign and throw the bums out. And the more of that you have, the stronger our democracy is.
SCOTUS just ruled in Ted Cruz's favor in a 6-3 decision, and it's not good for the future of American politics. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and Ted Cruz is no one's favorite person, not even here in Texas. And yet, the Supreme Court decided to help him out in regards to campaign finance laws. Now, back in 2018, Ted Cruz spent over $250,000 in his effort to protect his incumbency in the Senate from his challenger, Beto O'Rourke. Now, prior to this SCOTUS decision, candidates were allowed to raise up to $250,000 from donors to repay their private investments into their campaign. Ted Cruz went $10,000 over that limit and then challenged the Supreme Court to allow him to recoup that extra $10,000. He went $10,000 deliberately over the limit, specifically to challenge it, and it worked for him. The decision was a split between ideologies. The justices for Cruz argued that limiting campaign spending is actually an infringement on freedom of speech. The more money you have, the more ads you can buy, and ads are considered speech. Those justices against made the, I think, very credible argument that this decision will further encourage bribery and lobbying in the political sphere, which, as we all know, is already incredibly rampant.
Let's say some small business owner to make a loan to put their life savings in and to knock out the career politician. And so they put this cap in place that said, all right, if you loan money to your campaign, you're out of luck. We're going to limit how much you can pay yourself back, and everything above that, tough luck, it's a gift to the American people. And what the Supreme Court said in this case, 6-3, I brought a lawsuit challenging this, and 6-3, the Supreme Court agreed with me and said this is unconstitutional. This abridges free speech. And the consequence of that is this is going to make it a lot easier for challengers to take on career politicians.
As the citizenry of this country fights against politicians using their public offices to enrich their private wealth, this is a huge step backwards. Of course, politicians on both sides of the aisle are guilty of this, but it's a major sticking point for activists because there's little to no incentive for politicians benefiting from these perks, let's call them, to enact any legislation against them. It's a huge conflict of interest within our political system, and that's precisely the problem. In a representative democracy, politicians are elected by the people in good faith that they'll act in the voters' best interest. They're put into positions of authority because they promise they do right by that power. Of course, politicians can and do say whatever they need to in order to get into office because once they're in there for at least a few years. It's very difficult to get rid of them, even when they've proven ineffective at carrying out their campaign promises. Now, that said, most, if not all of us here watching this have ever held public office, so it's a little difficult to assess the ease in which things can actually get done once a candidate wins their election. It's like when people say yoga isn't a real workout until they actually try it for themselves. I know we don't like to hear it, let alone admit it, but change on a large scale tends to take some time. Still, there's generally some kind of hope when things are moving in the right, or in this case, the left direction. The country has been asleep for years, though, decades, really. The GOP has been stacking the courts across the country. They've been stacking the Supreme Court. They've been putting loyalists in place where they needed allies to help push their agendas forward with little to no opposition. What we're witnessing across several political platforms right now, where a party that isn't even the majority is rolling back and or blocking rights and legislation supported by the public, was a long, long time coming. And I'm not going to say I told you so because nobody listens to me, but I will say that the writing was graffitied on the wall for long before most of us were paying any attention. For all of us who didn't want to get political, this is where it's gotten us. Now, just a side note, the fact that Ted Cruz spent $260,000 trying to beat a Democratic opponent in Texas of all places and still only barely won his race gives me at least a glimmer of hope for the future.